first message already in from Jenny, who reckons business owners need to factor in a decent wage for their employees and to bill customers accordingly. It's nonsense to rely on the goodness of customers to ensure your staff are paid decently. The conversation today, though, is broader than just the issue of tipping and payment of delivery drivers. And again, I'm aware of the fact that most, if not all of them, are not employees. They are contracted to do this job. But if you are someone who uses these services, whether it's to get your Uber Eats delivered for dinner, whether you are doing your grocery shopping online or whatever reason it is, there are thousands of drivers out there on our roads, and for many of them, it's a relentless job. There isn't anywhere to sit down in between calls. There's no shelter from the weather, let alone a place to charge a phone or use a loo while waiting for the next job. But the new idea I want to introduce you to today is hoping to change that. And if you have popped past the Constantia Village shopping centre within the last few days, you may have spotted the very first CitiPod, which has been installed there, discreetly tucked away on a patch of grass opposite the spa. It is giving delivery drivers a place to literally catch their breath in between jobs, but also, perhaps even more importantly, to charge their phones and more. Every pod is equipped with benches. It has charging points, bathroom facilities. The units can be easily dismantled and moved if it's found that the current location isn't working well. And this idea is being funded through a combination of corporate sponsorship and advertising. I'm intrigued. I love the concept. I think it's well overdue that we started thinking about the realities of the lived experience of these drivers beyond the convenience they offer us. And I'm delighted to welcome on the line Jen Dove, who is the co-founder of CitiPods, to tell us a little bit more about the idea and where this concept was born. Jen, we're so glad to have you on the show today. Welcome.
Thanks so much, Pippa, and thanks for raising this and allowing me to be on your show.
It's a huge pleasure. I mean, let's start with the problem you were trying to solve. What made you become conscious of the reality of what these drivers are facing in between their trips? Because a lot of customers, I think, probably never give it a second thought.
Yeah, so it's an interesting one because the problem really, and it's maybe a bit of a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. Okay. The problem really started where you see all these guys and some ladies, there's accidents, and I'm sure we're all aware and we all see multiple motorbike delivery accidents on the roads. And so that's really where I started. I was like, this isn't fair. And they get caught in such a trap where then they're out of work for a while their bike gets serviced, and then they have to buy a cheaper bike because they're out of pocket, and then the cheaper bike doesn't have good brakes and this and that and there's lack of training. And so that's where I just couldn't stand the accidents on the road. But I thought about what can I do about that? And to be honest, this is an age-old problem around the world and especially in Africa. And so my little brain wasn't equipped to solving that. And I hope that people are out there, and hopefully at some stage I can. But then as I was walking outside of my old co-working space on Kloof Street, I noticed that the delivery drivers, there was a massive area there on Darters Road where they're congesting. And they were even bringing cardboard boxes to lay on the ground so they didn't have to sit on the floor to eat their lunch. And I put imagery of it. And to be honest, these are working people. And to sit on the floor and eat your lunch, not out of choice, but just out of desperation, is so undignified. And it wasn't just one of them, it's multiple of them. And even worse, they don't have a toilet. That's a basic human right at work. To not have a toilet is shocking. And then they urinate on the streets, or they have to, beg the neighboring restaurants to use, which creates a public health issue, and it's a nuisance for the restaurants. And some malls have banned them from using the toilets in the malls. And so, and then don't get me started when it's raining. They're out there in the rain, maybe under whatever tree they can find. And most months in South Africa are summer months, and it's hot. And even I've now noticed the pod is packed on a winter's hot day. Imagine what it's like on a summer's hot day, just baking in the sun. And so, it was just from seeing that every single day. And not only that, but just seeing it grow every day. This problem isn't going away. People are ordering more. I've looked at the on-demand revenues of all the major retailers, and that number is just increasing, showing that people are ordering more, going in less. And so the worst thing for me would to create a solution that's, could go away next year for a problem that might go away next year. But all the indicators are showing that this is going to get bigger and bigger. And you see it with your two eyes every single day. So that's where the problem, and it's quite a interesting problem because you don't have to explain it too much to people. Everyone knows if you live in South Africa. We all know their share of the delivery drivers. And another thing is they ramp the curbs because they don't have a dedicated place, and then their bikes are now getting impounded and they're getting fined, and pedestrians can't use the sidewalk as intended because it's now filled with motorbikes, so we risk ourselves going into the middle of the road. And so it's just, and everyone blames the city, but it's not necessarily, they're not profiting off of this, and everyone just blames everyone, and it's a problem for us all, most importantly for the drivers.
Yeah. Now, Jen, I mean, your own background, do you come from some kind of design background, or do you work in a space that uses delivery drivers? I'm just fascinated by the fact that you decided, well, rather than sitting back and whining about it and complaining about it or feeling sorry for them without doing anything about it, I'm going to come up with a solution. Is there a sort of a natural link there, or is it really literally that you saw this and just went, I can't live with the knowledge that this is how people are being forced to endure their workday?
Yeah, no, not at all. My background is by trading. I studied marine biology and oceanography, so not relevant at all.
Really.
And then I did consulting, environmental and social consulting for a while, and I did a little stint in climate tech venture capital, and also currently work at an amazing asset manager in the UK, also as a sustainability associate. And so nothing too relevant, but I've always had a little side hustle business on the go, and some of them smaller than others. And then when I just saw this, I was like, there has to be a simple solution. There just has to be, and there's no way we can all accept that this is the reality for people. And it's not just the delivery drivers. It's official car guards. I've asked them where they eat their lunch. They don't have a dedicated spot. They don't have a dedicated toilet. It's official security guards. It's all these deskless workers. And so, it started out of just this little side hustle idea and just let's get it going. And the traction's been amazing.
Well, Sue writing in to say, I had a look at the Constantia pod on Friday. It was buzzing. A brilliant, brilliant idea is her comment. Let's talk about what it looks like and what the design is that you came up with and how you came up with that idea. Jen, I'm guessing you must have done some kind of market research with the intended user and spoken to drivers about what they would like to have in place. Talk us a little bit through the process of getting the pod designed and what you ended up with.
Amazing. Yeah. So that's actually a really important thing because it started in my mind. I was like, let's repurpose containers and put these containers and then they can have a shelter in there. And I know, it's circular economy. And then at that stage, I was chatting to my friend who's now my co-founder in the business, Nick Connock, and he works in an architectural firm and he designs lodges for a living. And he was like, no, we can do better than containers. And then he took a stab at some drawings and it has evolved over time. But obviously containers aren't as pretty as what the solution is now.
Yeah.
And also putting a toilet in a container sounds like a messy situation. And so it is now these modular timber rest hubs with a lot of integrated glass, and they are importantly so beautiful because we don't want to put eyesores around the city or eyesores in all these shopping centers, parking lots, because obviously you want to keep up the beautiful streetscapes, and also if you give the drivers somewhere beautiful and dignified, they will look after it. And that is exactly what we are seeing at Constantia. I've gone every single day to see if there's anything broken, stolen, messed on. There hasn't been a spill. The only litter I've picked up is a receipt, which could happen to us all. It falls out your pocket. They are respecting it. And so, yes, I did some market research, and obviously the most important, in my opinion, is the toilet. And so that's key. Benches and shelter are nice. They love that. But obviously the guys really want charging stations and ultimately Wi-Fi. Yeah. And that's also an important thing is you got to put these, it's not like we're giving out free burgers at these pods. They're not the most amazing things that you're going to attract drivers coming from far. So you kind of have to put them in areas where they already are. Yeah. And it's better than the alternative, which is sitting on the floor. because we're not going to change behavior, especially overnight. And so, but in the design, it was a lot of back and forth, because you got to take into consideration the South African context is, we don't want people sleeping in there overnight, so it's got to be lockable. So there's glass doors and the Constantia Village security lock it every night and unlock it every morning, and it's open from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Then there's a lot of greenery. We wanted it to be beautiful, and we've also intentionally planted all indigenous plants with really nice smells, and that grows up a big trellis, which with creeper plants to make it really look beautiful. Mm-hmm. And then, you want to be able to see inside of it at all times, so nothing can happen inside. And that's where we integrate a lot of like safety glass, thick laminated glass, so you can see in it from all angles. But you also don't want to create like anything that's not ventilated. So there's some sides of it are like these beautiful wooden horizontal like lattice almost that allows fresh air in, but still protects it from the rain. So all those design considerations were taken into consideration. Then we ended on this what's now the pod, but it's also to say like each pod is like modular. It's made up of modular components, and so depending on the site, you can have an L-shaped one, you can have one without a toilet and just extra seating, you can have multiple glass panels and less wood panels. So it all really depends. And that can easily be interchanged.
I mean, it sounds beautiful, and from what I've seen of the visuals of the prototype at Constantia, it looks, as you say, it looks attractive. It's not an eyesore. It's going to be something that's visually appealing to the neighbours living alongside the place, and that people are going to take pride in having access to. But all of that comes at a cost. Jen, how are you funding this, and what's the model that makes this potentially replicable and sustainable going forward?
Yeah. And again, you're asking all the right questions, because that is something we want to ensure is like the long-term sustainability of it. Yeah. So it's also important to note that each pod is a pod manager that just checks up every day that it's open, that it's operating as it should, that nothing's out of place, that nothing's damaged, nothing's vandalized, it's clean, any incidents are reported or escalated. So, and that also comes at a cost. And so there are all these monthly costs or day-to-day costs. And so what our model is, and we also believe that we don't want to like put this burden on one stakeholder. It's not fair. We all use the services. Some people are making money off of it. Some people use it and are benefiting by getting the groceries. Like, we all responsible. And so we try to share the load on the stakeholders. Mm-hmm. And so, for example, in the instance of Constantia Village, Growth Point have given us the property, and they've given us some of the, like, that small piece of land needed, and they've given us their security services to lock it each night. So they're doing their job, and in return they get a more orderly site. Apparently a lot of the customers there complain that the drivers are lurking around, and so they're doing their part, and in return they're getting a more orderly, beautiful site. The drivers are using the Constantia Village toilets less and using our toilets that we provided. And then we obviously do the management of it on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. And in return, Uber Eats is our first corporate sponsor, and they are sponsoring a monthly fee that helps us run the pod. And in return, they get a plaque on it that says powered or sponsored by Uber Eats, as well as, their drivers are looked after. And I guess it's not necessarily their drivers, they're just the technology company, but the drivers that use the Uber Eats platform. And then we've managed to get sponsors from Sanitech have sponsored a toilet and the waste removal and hand wash. We've had Lighthouse who sponsored lights to put inside of it. And it's all really nice stuff. And then we've had the fertilizer sponsored, and it's called Seabricks. It's this amazing fertilizer, like top of the range stuff, and we are intentionally trying to give the drivers and the pod its best opportunity for life, and by giving it not just random products but the best.
I mean, it's a win-win for everybody, Jen. It's a clever, simple idea, but I love the fact that you're mentioning so many people have come on board and said, yes, we want to partner with you on that. Before we must hand over to the news desk, let's talk about where to from here. Your prototype in place at Constantia Village, and there's lots of positive feedback coming through. I'll share some of those messages after the news, but I believe there is a second one ready to go as we speak, and perhaps more beyond that. Jen, just tell us brief in closing what your immediate future looks like for the CitiPod concept.
Yeah, thanks so much, Pippa. So yes, there's one ready to go for the waterfront. We're just waiting on them. They're doing some major waterproofing of the site, and so and that's how the model works. This is built off-site in a warehouse, flat packed into its components, and then transported to site and installed in a matter of days. So limited disruption, if any, to the host or the landlord. And so that one's, it's ready to go. We're just waiting on the waterfront now. So that's really exciting. They chose not to go with the toilet option because they actually allow their drivers, they've got enough toilet facilities around the waterfront.
Excellent.
And so the drivers can use the same one as the shoppers use. And then from there, we've got a whole pipeline of, we're in the later stage of signing a contract with another shopping center. And then we've just got so many people who have reached out of they want on their sites, as well as some sponsors who have reached out and want to sponsor. And so it's been a bit of a whirlwind, at least in the past week. Once the first pod went up, now that there's one in real life, people see it, see how beautiful it exceeded expectations. Now everyone seems to want one, and people are realizing what a win-win it is, because it truly is a win-win, and that's exactly what we intended for. And so, now it's just a matter of being strategic about the site's choice and getting more sponsors on board, and just working out those logistics.
Sounds fantastic, and I hope it's a concept that balloons and takes off everywhere. Jen, thank you so much for getting it rolling, and thanks for taking the time to chat to us today and explain what it is for those customers who've been curious about what they've seen go up at Constantia Village. You now know, and we'll share some of the feedback after the Eyewitness News. But Jen Dove, thank you very, very much for joining us this afternoon.